feel like I'm always coming from somewhere else. We used to walk together.
Looks like we're live.
We're live. Has everybody signed in? Has everybody signed in? No. No? Well, can you make sure that you sign in, everybody? And make sure your cell phones are off, please, too. When it's 7:30, you're free to do your thing.
You ready?
Whenever you want. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is the September 10th, 2024 Village of Warwick Planning Board meeting. First thing we'll do is stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Okay. Terry Boland.
Here.
Brian Barber is absent. Jesse Gallo.
Here.
Scott Brown.
Here.
Bill Olson.
I'd be here.
Vanessa Holland.
Here.
So we have acceptance
Keith
of.
Wood. I'll say Keith Woodruff.
Here.
And Liz Cassidy.
Here. And we just need a motion to have Vanessa as alternate step into the seat for tonight's meeting.
I make a motion for Vanessa to step into the role of alternate for tonight's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Acceptance of the August 13th, 2024 meeting minutes. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
Abstain.
Me neither.
I move we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Approved. Aye.
Second.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
You can,
Three
Okay.
ayes,
You weren't
2
here.
abstentions.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so those meeting minutes are approved. First application we have on the agenda is 15 Elm Feed and Grain floodplain application.
Good evening, I'm Joe Eversey, architect for 15 Green Building. You requested I give you full-size drawings, because you can't see the small ones, so I just printed out what I have.
good.
So this is the original survey. I'm sorry?
Those are yours.
Okay, thank you. And I received Keith's comments and tried to address every one of them. So this is the original survey before they took all the buildings down. This person's passed, he's the original survey. So here's the Feed and Grain building. I have a small addition I built here. All these buildings are gone now. Here's a secondary road I have coming in, and here's the primary road we have. This is all macadam impervious surface. Underneath these buildings is also all impervious surface. The foundations have been removed from these buildings, but it's just hard ground. And the site has all been kind of dug out at one point, because this church here, these buildings, this building are a full 6 feet to 10 feet taller than this whole site, because they wanted to be level with the railroad tracks when they had this site. So this is the survey. This gentleman did a survey for me after I bought the property, after the buildings were removed by the previous owner. So that was all that was left, was the tower, and then that's still the driveway. That's all basically was there, still is there. Building's all been removed.
And was the building, or that just a foundation, or?
That was a foundation and a full building that
Okay,
was
right.
removed. Everything was removed at the same time.
okay.
This was a store where people
Okay.
bought and purchased
The grain
material.
tower. Mhm.
This was the grain tower, and all the buildings were sort of run-in sheds that had farm implements,
Mhm.
fencing, tractors,
Right.
lawnmowers, things
Right.
like that. So this is a current survey
Mm-hmm.
done by the same person about 5 years ago when I
Okay.
first bought the property. So this is the drawings I submitted to you, but I made them bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have, the topography was done by ERS Consulting for the previous owner. He just kind of overlaid it onto a blank piece of paper. I had a digital copy, so these are the credits. Stephen Burke is the guy who did the survey. This person from ERS, you guys know him, did all these topography, shot the grades, and drew it, so I just imported those onto the drawing
Mm-hmm.
as a request of the town engineer, village engineer. And this is the denotation of the FEMA floodplain at 517. I traced it on the color drawing FEMA map and plopped it on here. And then this line here, this black line, is a denotation that where it goes from floodplain to floodway,
Floodway.
which is basically about along the tracks there. So my entire property is not in the flood
Good way.
way, it's
This is
all in,
flood.
part of it's in a floodplain.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the kind of existing conditions, last map, which is the same as Little Guys, is the same thing. I just put spot elevations on because the lines just got too much, I was dizzy. So this is again, the flood, as best I can trace it off of that map.
Mm-hmm.
And using the 517 numbers. And then this is the flood way.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it just gives you a sense of where it is. So what we are doing is a landscape project.
Okay.
When we first bought the property, we planted all the trees back here, and everything died. We spent thousands on trees, and because the soil is really a railroad bed,
Mhm.
and it was an industrial site basically. So this was all, we had imported fill bringing here, a certified soil that we filled in to create a berm. So on top of this berm, you could see the river. We were planting trees on it. It's really a landscaping thing, permaculture. Pollinator plants, things like that. It's more landscaping than anything else. We also had extra dirt, so we filled in this area. Our goal is to just raise the grade a few feet higher than what it is because it's in such a hole. Everything here is higher. We just want to kind of take it back to what it used to be. And then someday we're talking about maybe building 7 apartments here, single family apartments here. But I don't even know if that's ever going to happen. That's why I don't have more information on it, because we're in a floodplain. We have to be about 8 feet higher than the grade to make this even happen. It's almost infeasible unless they're on stilts or something, because you really can't build on compacted soil. So I'm not even sure about that whole thing. And I have so many other things going on in my life that I don't know if that's going to happen. I know Keith asked more information about that, but currently it's just 7 single-family bedrooms. That's how big it is. Maybe this driveway will become for them. We'll split the property in half. This could be something that could be an entity in itself. We'll keep the feed and grain building, but at this point, we're really just focusing on landscaping. It's something I could handle myself. It's much cheaper than building a building, and it certainly makes a difference. So this is now, we've got some of the dirt in here already, and it's fully grassed over already, and wildflowers all over it. A couple of trees are in it. It looks great. And this one, same thing. So so I understand we need a permit to do this because it's in a floodplain. So I tried to get as much information on here based on the engineer report as far as the topography, the floodplain lines, and our goals on the property, and the square footage of what's going in. These are all in the soils report of how much square footage of soil we're putting in. So approximately, these have both been raised about 4 feet higher than the existing grade,
It's in the floodway. Mm-hmm.
which is, it's in the floodway.
Mhm.
I mean, in the floodplain, not in the
Flood-
floodway. It's all on our
Floodplain, not the
property.
floodway.
So this, if you drive to the property, both these are high, and then the whole thing just drops down into this. So we're only trying to make it kind of where it used to be.
There's 9 parking there. Those don't exist yet, do they?
These do not exist, those are there now.
Okay, these do not. These are new. Would be.
This is
that
what we're
proposed there.
We're
And
proposing
the
that.
5 exist.
5 exist, they're always filled. We want to add some more
So
as
The
part
only-
of this land
the only
development.
thing you're not proposing is this.
We're not proposing that.
Right. So
We're
everything
not
else
building
on here-
anything. This road is here already,
Yeah.
it's already there, it's paved.
Right. These spots. Right. You said are there
Those
'cause
spots
you
are there.
run Your business out of here, right? So
That's my home,
Mhm.
correct? That's the little garage.
Uh-huh.
That's our greenhouse, and this is our garden.
So are you proposing to do this or just for
That's, we're
later on?
parking there now, it's just sitting on grass. Again, the land is so hard, you could park
Yeah.
anywhere, it's literally like gravel and,
So you're not gonna pave, will not be paved yet?
no. we're
Not until you
planning
go
on paving.
do this?
Yes, I think in disclosure, I think our goal, if we were to move forward with this, is to kind of split the property into half acre each, which is about right through the middle here, and turn this into a development in its own name and create these apartments, and they would use this as their primary driveway. And the road would be continuous, but they would be encouraged to use that as their driveway. We would still continue to use ours. And that would be, I think, in the end, an ambitious project that we would undertake.
Right,
I
right.
don't think we're ready to do that
Right.
right now. I'm so busy with work. And this is a very costly thing, and I have to hire a lot of people to help me get this thing approved, so we just haven't proposed it. Originally, we proposed this when we bought the property, and we're seeking a zone change to build this building, and it really just clouded the approval process, because everyone wants to know everything about this. They want to see what it looks like, stormwater management, road study, traffic studies. It just got so, they said, listen, if you want this thing to be approved, so you could just kind of renovate this building,
Right.
just take this completely off the project, so.
I would do the same here.
Yeah,
Just so it doesn't, to Keith's point,
No, take it off.
if this
the-
isn't part of this, I would just,
But in disclosure, I wanted to put it on, because I know every time we go to a planning board, everyone says, well, what else are you doing here?
Well,
So this
it
is
almost might- it almost-
possible.
but then you have to give us all the information, so it's, you can't
Yeah.
do it both ways.
If they approve the plan showing it, then they're essentially quasi-approving the location of the
It-
building.
so the
Okay.
final plan set would need to have that removed,
Okay,
unless you were planning on giving us all the documentation so we can do secret.
we'll take it off,
It's the same thing that we did when we did site plan approval before.
right.
Yeah, it was same story here. Is,
So the same would apply to the 4 parking spaces. So
Right.
if they approve the plan as is, they were essentially approving the addition of the 4 parking spaces, whether it be
So-
macadam, gravel, grass.
Just take them off the map.
They'll just take them off the map.
Yeah.
So we'll take this off and we'll take this off.
The parking spaces, I have less of an issue with a seeker
Yeah, this is
perspective.
a big deal.
Yeah.
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 The building is the
We know.
issue, the
Yeah.
4 parking spaces from a seeker perspective are
Yeah.
not the
Yeah,
issue.
this would be all the parking for these. There would be,
Okay.
they could probably fit about 8
For,
and 8.
for later to talk about. Okay.
So that's fine, so I got it, we'll take that off.
In the fill areas, are you excavating the compacted soil underneath or just?
No, putting it right over it. It's all gravel.
So where's the drain now? Where's the water drain for now?
Water drains right
Goes
here.
here?
There's a hole right there, and the entire site goes to here,
Yeah, it
and there's
goes-
a pipe that goes under there.
And where's that go?
Goes right under this fence into this river.
And goes into the way down the creek.
Doesn't go directly into Wanda Creek, there's a little
is there a
waterway.
tributary there?
Actually, it's like,
It comes, that's from Spring Street, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
the one
right.
that comes from Mount
That's right. That's right.
Averno.
Come down
Yeah,
Spring.
it comes down
Yep,
Spring Street.
this is a buried pipe, it always runs, and then it goes under the railroad track. So this, you can clearly see from here, it's just a pile of gravel, but there's a pipe at the bottom, goes across here, and it just dumps right in here.
Does that have to be shown on the map?
I mean, he's not making any
No, any
changes.
changes.
Right.
Yeah, and I would imagine if we were to develop the site, that would be embellished, made better.
Improved, yeah.
It turned into a more feasible, but the entire site's been draining there for a couple hundred years, to my knowledge.
I'm a little confused. So you already brought the,
We started to, yes. Some of it's been brought in already. We had the ability to, we had some soil from an excavator that we work with, and he said, I have extra material. It was all licensed and tested material. So I said, yeah, bring it. So we brought it in. And the
So-
reason we did that is because when we did the original building, we went through the whole process of bringing in soil and raising it around our building. And we went through with Dave Gatz, and he approved everything, and everything was fine. They said, just make sure it's tested, and we just never really finished filling in the site. We just ran out of steam, so we just kind of picked up where we left off.
So all this is
application
basically,
is to continue that project.
Yes,
Okay, and if there's, what is it, 10,000 square feet of dirt? Like, that wouldn't affect runoff for that pipe that you mentioned? or-
it's the same site that it always was. We're not increasing any.
Yeah, I
But
wouldn't
all that
think
water
that-
went to here before, and it also goes to there now.
Okay.
It's just that this, everyone is welcome to come there and see it. So this has just been raised on this area here,
Mounded area.
about 4 feet, about up to there, and it just goes up and comes back down the other side, and we're raising that and raising this. And it's just, it feels like a hole. When you're there, it looks like the whole thing's in a big giant hole, and I think it looks a lot better now that it's filled. So we did start it.
So, with respect to a public hearing, because this is an amendment of a previously approved site plan pursuant to 145-96, the board gets to determine whether the proposed change, the extent of the proposed change warrants a public hearing, so we'll need that decision tonight, whether you want a public hearing. The site is within 500 feet of New York State Route 94, so we do have to send it for 239. The applicant did submit a short form environmental assessment form dated July 10th, 2024. It appears the action is an unlisted action for purposes of seeker. Just a couple of comments. Just in the future, just use the New York State DEC mapping tool. That makes your life a lot easier.
Okay,
Applicant to address impacts of proposed grading on Wayanda Creek in Indiana Bat, and that was raised in the short form. I have here, and I don't know, so this is just something that we need to confirm. I am not an engineer. New York DEC may be an involved agency. It appears the project may be subject to a protection of waters permit, given its location on the floodplain, so we should just check and verify that that's the case. Application indicates 10,000 square feet of disturbance, while EAF indicates 9,000 square feet of disturbance. Applicant to make consistent. And this, I'm actually making your life easier. It is not in a critical environmental area, so you can change that check mark to a no. We kind of beat up on the townhouses a little bit. If it's not proposed, if there's not any sort of development phases, I recommend they come off. Anything that's not for consideration be removed to avoid any segmentation issues. And then plan sets provided some, but not the topographical lines. I defer to Keith on that as to the adequacy of what was provided.
Do we need a motion to not have a public hearing?
You would have a discussion whether the amendment is of the extent that you think the public should have a public hearing.
So where are your neighbors? Are there neighbors that would be impacted by this?
They're all up gradient for sure.
there is, someone just
Two.
bought the
Doty
Doug
Place?
Stages building,
Yeah, that's over here.
which is over here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it affects him, but he uses my driveway actually. There's this little repair shop here from Bill Dottie.
Mm-hmm.
He owns it there. And I see him, he's a good guy. There's these folks here that live up here, that little family there. So these are, and then there's Light Bolt over here, which own that fallen down little barn there, the rental. It's a family-owned thing, it's kind of this building right here. So I think those are my primary neighbors. Everyone else is, the mall is across the street, the bagel store is across the street. Yesterday's is here. So I don't think anybody here would, in terms of rising water, would be affected by it, because
They're all
the church and everyone
higher,
way higher.
way higher.
I mean, I look up at it like this. So the only person I would think that would be affected would be this gentleman, this person, the rental there.
You wanna go through my comments first before making?
Yeah, definitely.
So Joe kind of touched on a lot of the comments. I'm just gonna skip ahead to, was a FEMA elevation certificate done to the building?
No.
After, okay. That's gonna be something you probably wanna get done.
Okay.
I'm sure you have flood insurance at this point.
We have no flood insurance, we're above it.
Okay.
We're 319, we're 2 feet above the
So
flood.
typically you have to have that elevation certificate to prove that your actual first floor elevation plus the mechanicals and all the other appurtenances are above that elevation.
I don't have a mortgage.
Okay. As part of the condition of the approval, the board should request the applicant to provide an as-built after the earth disturbance has been completed with the fill along or within the floodplain.
Okay,
And then the board
Saw
to
that.
determine if they believe that the development would be, result in physical damage to other property. So in that packet that I provided with some aerial images which show essentially what his plan showed, which the building was taken down. The building was previously, or the multiple buildings were within the flood plain. In those locations, he's removing the building and then essentially putting fill in that same location. So he's converting it from an impervious surface to a pervious surface.
right.
And the last time the FEMA study was done for that portion was in 2009, or verified in 2009. All the changes to the plans have made
After.
right were subsequent to that. So it's in the eyes of FEMA, that's not necessarily a drastic change because it's removing and putting back in kind the earth. If there's additional improvements, so in the portion in the lower corner that he was referring to where he's going to or potentially putting parking, I would consider that a significant change from the previous floodplain analysis that would warrant doing a technical analysis for the property. But being that you guys are the administrator, you can make that requirement if you see it to be fit, to just ensure that not only is it not going to impact the properties downstream, but also upstream, and it's not going to change the flooding to the culvert that actually runs under Elm Street.
That's, if he builds that building, but if he doesn't, all we're talking now is the couple feet of fill, correct?
Correct.
So would that,
Yes.
you think that would have an impact?
To me, it looks like it lessens the impact that was there before the buildings
Yeah.
were even
Yes,
demolished.
so there's still ways for the water to kind of get around the way it was previously when the buildings were there. So in that lower area, the water, once it flooded, could essentially go around the building. So he's not stopping the water from following that same path. It's really just, it's confining it to the interior portion of his parking area, but it is a change regardless from when his previous site plan, or for his previous floodplain development permit was issued, which is what he filed for the initial when he did the
This
construction.
last one here. So will water drain off this way?
Yes,
On the water on top of that would go that way.
Go that way.
But if the flood came this way, which is a 100-year flood,
Yeah.
down the stream, it would go kind of run right through the whole site,
Right,
through this.
which it would have done when the building was there
exactly.
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, the roads are still the same, it's
Yeah.
just these mounds I put here.
But the building's not gonna end up in a car wash. The fill could very well end up in the car wash
Yes, in 100 years.
in a 100-year flood. So is the idea that the planting on that is gonna hold it in place?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is all for plantings, the purpose of this. And by raising this, I'm able to look at the river. The river is a really beautiful thing, and when you're down low, you don't see it. As soon as you come up about 4 feet, you put benches up there and you look right at the river. It's a nice asset.
So you're 5 feet above here.
Yep. Yep.
But is that, you said it's now permeable?
It's now permeable,
But-
before it wasn't.
I know, but it's just gonna go down 5 feet and then hit the impermeable stuff.
Or it'll take up through the vegetation, it could evaporate. There's some storage in that soil that's gonna be there,
Okay.
whereas before,
There was nothing, right.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, when it rains, I don't see any. This is not eroded at all. It's fully, both of them are fully planted right now. It's just looks like just a raised piece of property.
And then to answer Carrie's point, so this was work that he had performed, the building inspector was notified of this work without a permit. We had an inspection on site to look at it, and that's where the recommendation was to file the permit with the planning board as a floodplain development.
Okay, thank you, the timeline, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yes.
And I have those papers, the photographs, the aerial photographs. Do you want them for reference?
I submitted as part of my review packet to the board, so unless they have questions in regards to it. And then also with that was the FEMA floodplain. So based on the elevations, roughly where the fill is, it's gonna be between 517 and 517.5 is gonna be the actual elevation of the floodplain in the line
Okay.
here.
That's correct. Right there, 517. So this is a little higher than that already.
So the application itself is only for fill in the floodplain. It's not necessarily a structure or
No,
any kind
just to
of
fill in
living.
that. Okay.
Right, so the townhouses will be completely
Yeah.
separate,
We'll have to talk about it.
and that I would recommend a downstream analysis to be performed for an improvement of that nature. But for fill, an earthen berm with vegetation that was in the same location as the previous building, I don't see the need for it.
So do you want to take up the question of whether this is significant enough to deserve a public hearing? To require a public hearing?
Because first we gotta decide that's not necessary to,
Yeah, so with floodplains and floodway development, it's kind of a iffy because you can impact people downstream and upstream. So it's not necessarily just your neighbors or people that are across the street. In this instance, it will not impact people that are closer to West Street. So it may be beneficial to have the board have a public hearing, and then also allocate that time to have a site visit to actually see what the surrounding area would be.
So the potential people who might be impacted would be yesterday's and the,
The car wash,
Car wash.
but also properties
Potentially
also.
up here, because you're pushing the water
Right.
back,
Right.
potentially.
Right, that's assuming that the river actually came up
Yeah.
past the railroad tracks.
Right, and that's what the permit is all about, is
Right.
flooding, not necessarily how much it rains,
Right.
it's just where that water gets pushed when you're putting something where it used to go.
Which could also impact Mitchell's Corners as well,
Right.
on the opposite side of the creek.
I think they're actually pretty.
Quite-
they're
Yeah, the
higher
parking lot
elevation
out
than
here.
here.
Mhm.
They're probably, yeah, they're higher. Yeah, because this is a lot lower than here.
So who would do that study to see if other people are impacted? Because people are
I
showing
don't,
that'd be
I think we're
fearful.
thinking that study is probably not necessary here, it's just
Yeah.
the public hearing would likely be necessary, just so that the people in the area are notified
Okay,
that this
alright.
is gonna exist.
Whatever, everyone.
Yeah. I think, right, that's what.
Yes, yeah, that
That's what
was
it
kind of
recommends.
where I was kind of portraying it. I don't think a floodplain analysis would be warranted by this,
Right.
but not necessarily this plan, but without removing the townhouses.
So if he had a public hearing, you should bring a new map in without this and this, right?
Yes.
Correct.
And
Only what is gonna.
only what's gonna be,
exist.
Yep.
so it would just be, so this to the public hearing, if you haven't.
That, and then there's also this fill over here.
Right.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right, these are the two proposed things, or now there. But yes, we would remove that, and we would remove this.
Okay.
And so it's anything above 5.7 or below 517, right, is considered the fill. Right.
Yep.
So here you're up at 517 here. This is 517.
Correct, this is the 517 line.
Right, so this area here isn't even really included.
Correct.
Okay, so I would just, well, I guess you
Well-
can show that, but maybe hatch it or something, so it's really only.
It technically triggers site plan, so just as a belt and suspenders, I would include the whole area of fill, so that we make sure that,
Right, I
we
just
cover
want,
it. Yeah,
I want to
I-
note that it's only this area that's actually for the
Yeah, this
flood.
is much higher, it just goes right up.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a sewer hole. That's my sewer, there's a sewer pipe right there, there's a right of way from the village. Goes right through here,
goes across the street.
it's right on the side of the tracks. And I was able to tap into it, and in the future, with this, I can tap into that one, which is very convenient.
Okay, that's,
Which is probably where this original house that was here probably went straight into that, because there's only 2 manholes on the property.
so what's this dash line then?
This is a
That's-
line I.
No, this line here.
That's my sewer line.
That's your sewer
Yeah,
line, okay.
Right there, it goes right there into that sewer.
Okay.
That's my building. Originally, there was no sewer in this Green and Grain building.
And this is the railroad owns this property, right?
Yep, that's
Oh, it's
exactly right. They're right along this line here. It jogs right there.
To a railroad.
Yeah.
Do you have any objection to having a public hearing?
I don't have an objection to it. Whatever you think. I'm here tonight for a public hearing anyway.
Sure.
If it works better for everyone, it's fine. I just worry that people would think that it's detrimental to their property, that they'll hear like this could affect they'll think they're gonna get flooded out next. But that would only happen if this actually came over the railroad track, which is 1% in a
Right.
year.
And it likely wouldn't flood anyone else's property.
Right, so I just worry that I would worry the neighbors.
Well, it'd be an opportunity to set it straight, you know?
Say not to worry.
Exactly.
Right, when, with the correct information.
Don't worry.
Well, yeah.
I think the
And it's
likelihood
not-
of anything happening is like, half of a 1%, so that's why it seems like we're being a little over cautious, but it's been raining like crazy and you never know, right?
3
So-
times it touched the bridge since
Yeah.
Christmas time. The
So-
water actually filled up and touched the little bridge on.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
strange.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's 8 feet of water.
Yep,
So I could walk under that bridge and it's 2 or 3 feet over my
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
So it could happen.
yep.
Liz, did you say there was something else we have to do tonight?
It would have to go for 239.
Yeah, the county review.
Because it is technically site plan, so it has to go for 239. It does not meet
Yeah.
our IMA with the county.
Does Does the public hearing have to wait for that?
No, what I would recommend is if you wish to have a public hearing, set the public hearing by motion tonight, and then also authorize your clerk to send that for 239, and by the time we have the public hearing, we're right at 30 days, so I don't see any issue with that.
I'd like to move that we require a public hearing and schedule it for October 8th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Is that next date? Okay.
Okay.
And then just a second motion authorizing Kristen to send 239.
Make a motion to send 239 to the county for review.
Second.
All in favor?
No, that's all right.
All right.
All in favor? It's hot.
Yep. Very hot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But yeah, I agree.
I got a business card, I need a good engineer.
I didn't want to bother you. I bought your handles for myself.
Thanks, Kristen.
All right, next on the agenda is 13 Forester Avenue, amendment to site plan.
Yes.
It's hot.
It's hot.
Yeah.
You turned on the air.
Stuff rented yet?
Oh, yeah, 100%. We got maps.
Looks
I
great.
believe you have maps, but I might use because it might make things a little bit easier.
You got another map? Okay.
I got
Color code.
code.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Oh, thank you.
So how do you all like?
Looks great.
You need a mural on the WVT building.
Yeah, something nicer to look at. Yeah.
We've spoken about that at the committee, right? The guy that was just sitting here is the architect.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you leave yet, Joe?
No, we read
He's gotta come back.
We're talking about your beautiful building.
No, we're just talking about your beautiful
Yes,
job
it's
on
coming beautifully.
this. No.
Actually, being close to the road is not a problem at all. Looks like it belongs there.
Yeah, agreed.
I agree.
You know,
So I've heard some neighbors grumble a little. It's not neighbors, but someone. But I don't think it really fits.
Yep.
I was curious myself because of the multifamily that's built up the road a little bit. It seems like it's crowding, but I think because this isn't as tall,
No,
that's, I agree, it fits.
it fits.
And all the windows, the glass, like it
Blends
looks
No.
It feels like a nice continuation of the village, like.
agreed.
you know.
Matches his offices across the street. Okay, so
It's not being so nice to them. Yeah.
so during construction, things change,
No.
and I guess things, and I've ran these by. So should come into the board and show them to you and get you to reapprove it. So really, there's two primary things. One is sidewalks have changed. On this map that I gave you, the yellow sidewalks are what was on the approved site plan, which this board initially approved. When we were going through when Bo was going through the building permit process, the consultant that the building department uses, Martin, that's his name. Martin Rogers asked for the orange sidewalk so that there is a connection from the sidewalk on Forester to the parking lot in the back. So we went ahead and added that. The thing is, it's that orange piece of sidewalk is pretty challenging. You'll see, the site really wasn't designed for that. We just kind of added it, said, okay, Martin, here it is. It's really tight to the building and the access drive, and there's a little bit of a grade challenge there. But fast forward, Joe finished the building plans, more doorways were added to the building, and I don't know if the board recalls, part of the building closest to Church Street is slated to be a restaurant. So there needed to be a way to bring material into the restaurant from the parking lot, so that's a side door without driving,
Sure.
bringing it right through the center of where all the people are. So we've added the green sidewalk. And in doing the green sidewalk, we want to eliminate the orange sidewalk because we have the green nexus to Forest Drive. And in reality, it's closer to where any pedestrian traffic is most likely gonna come from as well.
Most of the,
Go, Bill.
most of the access to the stores, whatever, gonna be on the first floor are to this area, the parking lot, correct?
Yeah, well,
These
If
are-
we drive.
front or back, either way. The
Front or
stores-
back?
The stores go, right, they're full depth.
Yeah, front to back, but ultimately, we believe there's more pedestrians driving than
Right.
walking, so we assume most of them are through the rear of the building.
Okay.
My question is, if there is a driveway there where the orange line is,
Yeah.
are people gonna walk on it anyway, and then there's no sidewalk, and cars are pulling in and out of there?
Good point.
They'd have to walk around.
So it would be open to cars, but not open to
No,
pedestrians?
there would be no sidewalk there. Well, there would
Okay,
be,
but it wouldn't stop people from walking up the driveway, basically?
no.
I guess I don't see why anybody would be walking from the front of the building to the rear of the building
Through the
to
road.
begin with, because there's nothing back here for them
Yeah.
to go, I mean, to be walking in the front to go
Through
to
the
the
building.
store and then leave through the front,
Right.
and then maybe walk down the sidewalk here, but if they're parking here, they're gonna be going in and out of the rear of the building.
Or, I didn't highlight them on this side. These are all walkways into the building.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Right,
right.
they're up, you can see where they're
Right.
going.
yeah, exactly. So we'll be inviting, if you're a pedestrian walking, to
Yep.
stay on the sidewalk and then go in through a front door. We hope.
This is a pinch point here. It just doesn't work.
What is that side of the building, where you wanna remove the sidewalk, what does that look like? Are there windows, lights, what's
There
there?
are, there's 3 windows on that side. It's kind of an end cap retail space, so it's got more visibility, and it's, that'll all be planted where that sidewalk was. That'll all be green,
Landscaped.
which it was gonna be landscaped anyway, but only a smaller portion based on the sidewalk being there. So now there'll be
Right, what
more
about that?
plantings.
Right, if you landscape it, then people
Yeah.
can't walk on it, so then it's not a
Right.
safety issue.
So where's the entrance to the apartments on the second floor? Which one, which is?
Yeah, they're all, there's 2 entrances, both in the rear of the
Okay, so
building.
it's not.
The-
And
Are
there's
these here?
stairwells going up.
Yeah,
These here?
That's
that's the restaurant.
That's the restaurant.
That's the restaurant,
So
yeah.
just beyond these guys.
Yeah, correct.
This is access to the second floor?
It is.
2 of those are access.
And it's just
One,
really.
two,
One on the
three.
left side,
It
one on
starts
the right
really
side,
small
so
and
there's a
it's
center
wide.
hallway.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's where it
So-
belonged, but
Okay.
Two
figured
means
just
that,
you could
egress
trade
there.
or just put it on the other side.
Thank you.
So the second change is on our original plan, our drainage was a little bit different. We had roof leader going into this trench and then rain garden and this pipe under the driveway and out. The site, it doesn't hit the threshold for Speedy's permit requirements. And so both because of cost and with the changes to the sidewalks, Bo wants to just eliminate that.
Where's the water gonna go?
Right now, so the roof leaders right now are piped all the way to the back corner with the footing drain.
Right, originally they were gonna be conveyed to this,
Yeah, it's gonna go here, here,
and then,
under the driveway, and
and then
then
down here. So they're still ultimately going to.
same place.
roughly
There's
the
actually,
same
place,
there's
just different
like a-
route.
There's a little stream that runs right,
Right.
just off the property, so it's going to the same place.
It's called the
Instead of-
Witch's Creek.
Is that right? Yeah.
Really?
Witch's Creek.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Me neither.
So anyway, so instead of discharging
Little
there,
country
it's
house.
discharging here with
They're
the
all
footing.
in the back.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was something I think you had originally proposed, it wasn't even
It wasn't
required.
It's not
but
required.
Just put it on the plan.
Okay.
One other thing too, just pointed out with the sidewalk, without this piece of sidewalk and our shuffling things around, we're able to get one more parking spot.
Yeah, I mean, I personally like the sidewalk on this side.
Me too.
It serves more purpose and there's
Yeah.
more safety for pedestrians to be walking there than in the entrance. Doesn't make
Me
much
too.
sense at all.
There's also a lift door here, lift access or elevator access, so if you were you know, wheelchair or handicapping coming
Right.
into the building, you could come off of this street rather than going around, which is,
And that's
So-
nearest to the handicap spots.
right.
So delivery parking will be where?
In the parking lot.
Oh, in the parking lot?
Yeah.
Probably right around here.
Okay.
You'll stop and-
You're not gonna have a dedicated spot for it, no?
No.
Any one of those spots,
No.
okay. Not here, for example,
No.
okay.
It's, I mean, usually it's off hours. right?
Yeah, typically they come in earlier in the mornings, you know, so.
So it seems like you're gonna get foot traffic on the driveway. Is it possible to get walking path on the other side of the driveway?
No.
No.
So that's
24
right for
feet
the
or
property
whatever it
values.
is.
I don't, so just think about it, foot traffic for this would have to be coming from, or would most likely be coming from, like the Memorial Park side,
Or Coquitos, right.
or
Right.
Coquitos.
So,
Village foot traffic is gonna,
yeah, I'm
Come
thinking
down
about
this way.
coming out of my apartment and
Like going up High Street.
down High Street,
Right.
Church Street.
Yeah,
Well,
Well,
Church Street, I go around the
they would
other way, so
certainly
if
go
I'm
in
going to
there.
High Street,
Yeah.
but High Street,
I'm
Or
gonna
down
come around,
Forest
I'm gonna come around the building and out the driveway.
which is high as this one, or is high this one?
Yeah, no, High is the other
the other one down.
What's this one?
church.
Church.
How church extends across.
But then you lose it here,
Church and
so
then
it's
high
like,
is down here.
I'm not necessarily saying that's a big deal, just that that's probably a reality.
Yeah,
I mean, if they were going to any of these storefronts, they would just
Yes.
Right,
Right,
that way.
but if you
you're
lived in the
specifically talking about
apartments,
the people that are living on.
like if you live in the
apartments.
apartments, you come out the back of the building and you wanna go that way down Forester, you might not wanna walk all the way around the building, you might just pop down that driveway
So what,
instead.
did you say the apartment entrance?
Oh, you mean come this
from-
way?
It's this? Is there, or the,
It's these doors right though.
mhm,
Actually,
yes, this door right here, I
that
believe,
one?
and I think, this door. Or, I'm sorry, maybe that door.
But then it's kind of the same issue. This sidewalk wasn't proposed at all.
Yeah.
If they're coming out of here and they want to go up here, they're going to walk out into the street here, Church Street, and do the same thing.
This
So I'd
that's,
rather them walk on private property where there's less traffic on Church Street where there's fire trucks and so on.
that is the approved plan. There's neither.
Right.
Yes.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, this was a request, I guess, by, you said the building department requested this, which wasn't on the original site plan. That was before this was proposed.
Yeah.
To me, this is the same as this, same issue here, same issue there.
We kind of agree, we agree, these accomplish the same goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It connects the parking lot to Forester.
Ideally, you'd have them all, but well, I understand that this is just,
It's hard to make it work.
right.
Could it maybe, like a lot of lighting and maybe mirrors so people can see like what's oncoming or something?
we could do signage and all
Yeah.
kinds of different things. I think it'll be minimal
Okay.
at best, to be honest, yeah, people walking there. Will they do it? Yes.
Yeah.
How many people a day? 2? I mean, I don't know, but.
That's what
it's
I.
The other thing is
That's
there's
what I
only 8
expect.
apartments.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true, so
Right.
it's not gonna be like
Yeah.
thousands.
Yeah, you're talking about 16,
Right.
20 people.
Well,
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost a 3-foot rise from that orange sidewalk to get from the bottom to the top. So for a person in a wheelchair or whatever, it's steep.
So what's here?
Nothing. just
Like if I'm a
grass.
pedestrian coming around here and I don't feel safe in the road and I jump
There's
over
grass
the
and
curb
it's-
over there.
It's a lawn.
It's
It's the
grass.
neighbor's lawn, really. Yeah, right there.
There's a
The
fence here.
property
isn't it?
line's
There's a
over here
fence there.
though, so you don't really go off the property until you're right at the corner.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think that's, if I'm come out of my apartment, going around towards Church Street, and I'm in the road and I don't feel safe, and I jump over the curb onto the lawn, and that's not a big deal to me.
Agreed.
Or I'm gonna go around the sidewalk the other way. Yeah.
Isn't there a fence here? There used to be a fence.
I'm sorry, where?
Right now, there's a temporary construction.
Yeah.
There's a chain link fence here.
On Coquito?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
on that house next to us, there is a
Yeah.
chain link fence in their front yard.
In the front, not on the side.
I don't believe so
Okay,
anymore, no.
okay.
There's a fence there now that's Bo's fence.
That's construction,
Yeah.
right. But
That'll
the
come
chain
out.
link here.
Yes, I believe on the front of their property.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Along
it
the
has continued
sidewalk.
all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to go all the way,
Yeah,
right.
it went all the way, correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And is the building department gonna say those guys are out of their mind? I don't see it as a major,
Like I said, I think it accomplishes,
This
it
is
solves another problem you had up here, so I think it's a minimal problem here, there's more of a problem in my mind here.
so when they proposed this, we didn't have this on the map, right?
No, there wasn't either on that.
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
I was gonna print it, literally. It was this plan, and this gentleman that consults for the village, Martin, he had red marker all over, and he circle there, sidewalk to Forester.
Yeah.
And we never even discussed it, we just said, fine, sidewalk to Forester. But now that we're looking into it and trying to see how the grading's gonna work and how tight this is, and Bo needing this other sidewalk over here, we're like, you know what, it just makes more sense to put it out to Forester on that side of the building.
I think that solves the problem.
Especially with the firehouse there anyway.
Yeah, there's a
Being
lot
out
of
the
traffic
street.
back to
Right.
the dance studio.
Yep.
More traffic than will be going in this parking lot, that's for sure.
So that's it, eliminate the rain garden, revise our sidewalk.
So we wanted approval on the amended site plan.
I think that's what Boris is asking for,
That's
right?
cool.
Yeah, we're ready to pour the sidewalks.
Yeah.
So inclined.
Yeah.
Like to do so.
Before the weather hits, huh?
I didn't submit an EAF, I wasn't sure if one was needed or not, I was
Well,
gonna call you Liz, but that's.
No worries. So my comments are, just like the prior application, the amendments are governed by 145-96. Again, given the extent of the changes, the board is to determine whether a public hearing whether the changes warrant a public hearing. So that is in your discretion. This project underwent a full seeker review, and I understand from the record that there were 2 iterations, one without the upstairs use, 2-story building, but not a defined use, and that was in '22, and then they came back in 2023. We're gonna rinse and repeat a little bit. I'm gonna ask for a seeker consistency statement that we can adopt, essentially reaffirming reaffirming the board's existing findings, and that these changes don't alter those findings, or if these changes do, that they're consistent with the seeker, so that we can reaffirm our negative determination. And then in this one, I'm gonna point to Keith, given the technical nature of the proposed amendments, those are engineering questions, so I'll defer to Keith on that.
So as Kirk alluded, that the stormwater aspect is not required since their total disturbance was under an acre, so I'm asking that a note just be added to the plans, just noting that to memorialize that fact that they are under an acre, thus not requiring any kind of stormwater regulations. Just to verify the location of the rooftop stormwater discharge from the leaders, which he alluded to, is following in the same pipe or same trench to the footing drains. And then lastly, just as a statement to the board, was they are increasing the parking lot, the parking space count by 1 space.
Mm-hmm.
It was a previous vote by the board to allow them, since the required was 75 spaces. So it's more of a, I guess, confirmation that that board is still giving that same leniency to allow them to proceed with a insufficient number of parking spaces. But they also made the claim and provided calculations to show that there is offsetting uses. So you have apartments that are contrary to retail and restaurant, and then retail and restaurants typically don't have same peak operating times.
All right, any questions? Sounds like we have to take a vote
Yep.
for the public hearing.
Whether you want a public hearing.
I vote no public hearing for this.
So we'll want a motion, right?
Yeah.
Motion.
None of
Well,
us are-
I was just saying my own view, I didn't
Yeah.
wanna, but, I mean, I'll make a motion to not have a public hearing regarding the changes on the site plan for the sidewalks.
Is there a
We'll agree to that.
Are you seconding?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Oh, sorry. He's looking at me. I'll just, yeah.
She's really trying to help you out.
I
All
am,
in
really.
favor?
Aye.
So waive, I guess, the public hearing?
Yeah, the late public hearing.
Yeah.
Liz, with the consistency statement, is this something that's to be like written and submitted, or?
Just something simple. I don't think it's terribly.
I mean, I can speak it in the minutes right now if you'd like. I'll just say it. If we were going to do consistency statement, we would say that these changes are not gonna result in an increase in water consumption or sewer discharge, not gonna result in a change or increase in traffic, not gonna significantly result in an increase in impervious area. There may be a few hundred square feet more impervious area due to sidewalk. There will be no change to lighting, no change to stormwater impacts, no change for erosion and sediment control. And any of the other conditions that the board had adopted would remain in effect.
That's pretty good.
Will the additional parking space
Yeah,
increase the impervious
a little
surface?
bit.
Well,
I said that.
Well, it's the removal.
Well, no, I
That's
said the
because-
sidewalk.
That's
And-
because of the removal of the rain garden, right? Adds the extra space.
No, not really,
No?
just reconfiguring this area, so I made that.
Oh, okay.
If you look, this island piece
A little
is
smaller.
narrower here,
Ah.
because there was a piece of sidewalk there.
Yeah.
So we made that narrower, shifted it all over, and we're really squeezing
Extra
one more
space.
spot.
Okay.
all right.
And actually, another thing, I think, if I recall, our handicap striping, typical parking space is 9 feet wide. ADA requires 8-foot space, 8-foot striping, 8-foot space. I think ours were 9, 9, and 9, so I picked up 3 feet there. So between that 3 feet and, 5 feet here, we squeezed in another spot.
I think I've lost track. Are there any unmet conditions that would prevent us from approving the amended site plan tonight?
From a legal perspective, if you're comfortable with the written record, I obviously have not prepared a typed resolution in advance for you to review. I do have the prior resolution, and I certainly recommend incorporating those findings. So this was your 2023 approval. The findings was the planning board has determined that the final approval of the amended site plan will substantially serve the public convenience, safety, and welfare, and that the permitted construction of the proposed building is in the best interest of the applicant and the village. And then resolution of approval authorizing the chairperson or his designee to sign the plans upon satisfaction of these conditions, as noted below, prior to such signing. Condition is the approval, is conditioned on the applicant submitting all necessary copies of the plans to be signed as required. Applicant paying and depositing into escrow all applicable review, inspection, and other applicable fees. Delivering in proof in writing that all fees, engineering, legal, or otherwise in regard to this project have been fully paid. That all conditions of the approval, you have to submit proof that all conditions of the approval have been satisfied. And those conditions have to be fulfilled within 12 months. It sounds like they'll be fulfilled in 12 days. Otherwise, the permit expires. And then all the conditions shall be satisfied prior to the issuance of a building permit for the new structure. That's essentially a moot point at this juncture. No approval is intended to be given or is given by this resolution for site plan elements depicted on adjoining properties. As-built plans shall be provided to the village engineer for review and approval upon completion of the improvements. And then construction hours would be the same. And I think this is already done. The existing chain link fence is to be removed prior to the issuance
that's
certificate of occupancy.
It's a note on the plan too, note number 8.
And that was from our original approval?
Well, this is from your 2023 approval. I would effectively, what I would do is incorporate those conditions by reference, and the prior approval if anything has slipped through the cracks, but I doubt it. So legally, no, there is nothing. You have waived your public hearing pursuant to the authority in your code. The first, I would break this if you're interested in taking action tonight. The first motion I would have is a motion and make a finding that, as set forth by the applicant, that the proposed amendments are consistent with your prior seeker findings of a negative declaration, and you reaffirm that negative declaration as applied to the amendments.
So moved. So we're gonna reaffirm.
You're effectively
Right.
saying this isn't altering your seeker findings.
Based on Keith's,
Well, but if you take, what,
Kirk.
Kirk has said, and what your consultants have said, and you're making a finding that these changes don't alter your stormwater, you know,
Right.
it's not altering the traffic, anything like that, that you may have studied during the 2022 secret process.
So I move that we agree that doesn't, that as stated, that these changes don't affect our secret finding.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the second motion, just give me a second so I can write all this down. I will type all this up in a nice pretty resolution.
So before I continue pushing, you said you're ready to pour concrete, so it would be helpful if we didn't wait a month.
Oh, yes, 100%. These guys are ready to go.
That's what
I'm taking dutiful notes. I'll coordinate with Kristen and I'll circulate the draft resolution. It won't be tomorrow, it'll be Thursday. Okay. And then the next motion is a motion to grant amended site plan approval, subject to the terms and conditions of the, and it is the July 11th, 2023 amended site plan approval. And then I would also reference the 2022 site plan approval in that.
Yeah, I can't remember it. Okay, I make a motion as per what council suggests in regards to the 2023 and 2022 previously approved motions by this board.
That
Yeah.
works. That,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Hopefully we finish it up.
It's been exciting to watch.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Your work on your building in the big building looks good.
On the off, oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I was
Yeah, it
parked
looks like
over
the-
by the post office today, I
Yeah.
saw that too, yeah, it looks great, I know, it's exciting.
No changes.
No,
Yeah, it
no,
looks
no changes, please.
Thank you.
It looks good.
No third story?
Yeah. No first floor, right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Take care, Mr.
Okay. Now,
Next on the agenda is 20 Woodside Drive.
21.
21, jeez, I don't know how to even say the one.
Side drive.
Do you need a chair?
No, no,
Okay, are you sure?
no, they're good. They're. I had, yes, if you ever want to present. Yeah. Public hearing, I would do that.
Okay,
Yeah, that guy, I mean, if you ever. You can sit in the front row.
great.
There's 21. But it's
Yeah, it
Oh, no,
Yeah.
It's the last bit of summer inside here.
It's actually refreshed.
no, to refer to.
All right, so we met last month and scheduled a public hearing, which we'll get to. I know we had some comments, I think, from the, Liz, did you have any? I don't remember if you had any action on this, but I know Keith had a few.
I'll pull my notes. I'll let, why don't you head over to Keith?
Yeah, Keith, I know you had a couple that I think may have already been addressed, but just to cover them.
Sure. Site plans have been updated to depict the location of the roof leader discharge points. They've also provided a note detailing the specific location to be determined by the contractor. A specific condition to the potential final approval should be included to require the contractor to direct all the stormwater and the roof leaders onto Woodside Drive, just to make sure that they don't inadvertently direct it somewhere else. The approximate location of the existing service utilities has been added to the plans as required or requested. The location of the proposed air conditioning unit and condensers shown on the plans of the rear portion of the building on a concrete pad. And the location of the proposed silt fencing has been added to the plans on the adjoining property line as requested. So I think all the plans have been sufficiently updated and recorded.
And I had no action items apart with the plans.
Board have any questions or comments before we open the public hearing?
Nope.
All right, is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I move we open the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. I think I'll just read the
Yes.
notice, and
Yeah,
not all of them.
yeah.
The rules. All right, so Village of Warwick Planning Board notice of public hearing. Please take notice that the Village Planning Board of the Village of Warwick will hold a public hearing at the Village of Warwick Village Hall, 77 Main Street, Warwick, New York 10990 on September 10th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as possible on the site plan application of Natasha Walkowitz Shea. Did I pronounce that right? All right, good. To allow for the construction of 2 additions together with modifications to the existing porch to the existing single-family home located at 21 Woodside Drive, section block lot 203-2-3. A copy of the application is available for review in the building planning department located at 77 Main Street, Warwick, New York, during regular business hours, by order of the Planning Board of the Village of Warwick, by order of the Planning Board of the Village of Warwick, Jesse Gallo, Chairman, dated August 14th, 2024. All right, so is there anyone here that wishes to speak on the application?
Just before we,
Oh,
can I confirm that we have the certificate, we have the mailing and the affidavit?
and just before you speak, just say your name.
Sure. I'm Beth Urick. I'm neighbor.
Okay.
And our house is the one that's the closest. And we were just worried about the water. That's all we were worried about, that the water didn't go into our cellar. So, but as long as the water is going to be drained out to the street, then we're fine with everything. Is it gonna be underground?
Yes.
Underground?
Yep.
Okay.
The surface drainage, you're,
Yeah.
You're talking about
Yeah.
like the
To
roof,
the
Yeah.
meter drains that
Yeah,
come off the
meter
roof?
drains,
They'll go
because
underground.
their house is higher than ours,
Yep.
and all the water.
and that's the condition that you're recommending.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the previous planning board meeting, it was discussed about having they run underground so that the rear portion of the building tied into a pipe, and then it can collect the one in the front and then continue it out to Woodside Drive.
Is that what this picture is?
That's the existing one
Existing,
now, that
okay.
goes out,
Goes-
and that's gonna move over, yeah.
Right, because there'll be an addition there.
And include-
Okay,
and
but
include
this
the
goes
back water.
also goes
Yes.
into an underground pipe.
Yes, and it will include, right now, it does not include the back. The back just runs out into the
Yard.
yard. Sorry. So that's gonna be going alongside the house, underground,
Connect.
and connect with this and out.
Okay.
That's all.
Yep. And then the silt fence, I know you didn't ask
Yeah,
about that.
no,
That's
yeah.
to prevent any
Yeah,
during
that's,
construction.
that's all right. No biggie. Okay,
Great.
that's it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else that wishes to speak?
If there's no further, if there's no further people wanting to speak, I move we close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So that is done. Next steps would be.
Make
So, next steps, this is a type 2 action, so you don't need to make any secret determination because of the nature of the project. And then the next question is that, given Keith's comments, we are prepared to take action. Again, I apologize, I don't have a resolution typed ready for you to go, but I'm ready to take notes and we can type up an approval, if that's the board's pleasure.
I would urge, especially with
Yeah.
the zoning board
Yes.
deadline that is in place, that we expedite this.
Yes, of course. So, I think Keith, all of your comments, are there any conditions that you see that need, other than the customary, you gotta, I'm gonna add customary conditions, you have to make sure your permit fees are paid and all that usual stuff, is going to be added to that resolution. And of course, it would be subject to the determination of the zoning board of appeals, and that would be incorporated into the decision, into the written resolution as well, but you're already subject to that. And I believe yours expires on December. parking ordinance. So we're gonna get that to you as quickly as we can, so that, you can pull a permit this year, so that that's not an issue. Okay,
Yeah, I don't have any review comments that would,
trigger a condition, okay,
that even needs to be a condition on the final.
okay.
Right, everything was
So the,
addressed on
the-
Yes.
really, your customary conditions, payment of all, payment of all fees, all that stuff. John has to submit a signed, the final version, he just has to sign and submit the final map, and then the ZBA determination.
We need a motion, obviously,
Yep.
to.
I'll make a motion to accept this site plan as the final site plan, barring any other conditions, which you said no, so I think we're good.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in,
All in
you
favor?
said no.
Aye.
Okay, so Jesse is going to sign this site plan as presented, and so is Keith, correct? With
John
no
just has to,
modifications?
John has to sign it,
Sign it and seal it.
sign it and
Yeah,
seal
that has
it.
to be done, right.
So,
Right.
once John signs it, but John doesn't have to make any
Changes.
changes to what has been presented that Keith reviewed.
Okay.
So, he just needs to give you a signed
Signed
and
copy.
sealed copy.
For the
Okay,
Yep,
for you just approved that site plan,
Right,
okay,
okay.
that is
Final.
presented
Yeah.
here,
Oh, sorry,
okay?
this is a final.
Final.
Okay,
This is
great.
a final site plan. All right, do you,
We could do that tomorrow.
you,
so I will, work on resolutions, I'm hoping Thursday, but this week, because I now have 3 of them to.
trust me.
So I'm hoping to have that done shortly. All right, so I have a motion by Vanessa,
To do.
Bill
Second
seconded,
by
and
Bill.
all in favor.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
clear on what you need to bring to me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This signed,
And
sealed.
stamp,
Yep.
yeah.
How many copies? We need several.
3 would be good.
3 of those.
Yeah,
And
that's
ask me
fine.
both pages, not just the first.
Yeah,
Oh,
first
right,
and second.
Yeah, the whole set.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Super.
Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you.
Good luck.
So that's good. We just need to take a break.
Good.
Yeah.
Does anybody want a 5-minute break before we go to the next
Oh,
two?
keep
No,
it
we're
going,
fine. We're
keep
fine.
it
Are you
going.
good?
Should I
Yes.
light
All right, you're
We
good?
just need air.
Yeah, we're
I
fine.
know, I'm sorry. Do you want
But the
me
breeze
to turn
is
it?
coming.
Do you want to take a break for 1 minute
No,
so I can turn the air conditioning down even lower?
No.
I think
by the
let's
time we get
plow
to
through.
lower,
We got
You're
this.
good?
They're good.
Yeah.
They're good.
Okay.
less people in the
I'll
room.
start banning this.
Oh, I think that was it.
I don't
Because
know.
last time I put it at 72. Okay.
Right.
All right, so next on the agenda is 9 Campbell Road. Campbell Road. Application for final site plan approval. This is also here.
I received, you guys don't know.
See you summer.
Now I got roped into it.
The Joe Show, I was just about to say that.
I guess we got our
Yes, you
return.
did. Yeah.
They said we want no part of it. Ryan couldn't be here, so we're representing his paperwork, our engineer. He did follow up with the checklist, the planning board checklist.
Liz, did you have any additional questions or comments on?
Not on this application, I just have noted we're here for public hearing.
Okay. Keith, I know we had a couple of things.
Yeah, so the first one was the checklist. It wasn't previously provided. They've obviously provided it now. One of the things was the water service is called out as an ABS pipe, which is typically like the black plastic pipe. It's not an approved potable water supply line. Usually it's a type K copper or a PVC or some other approved pipe material. Providing the elevations for the lower sewer elevation for the sewer service to the building, and some other ancillary details as far as the pipe bedding for the water and the sewer services. I know the board previously discussed, I don't think a decision was ever made as far as or in lieu of the the sidewalk in front of the residence. So just want to make sure that the board has ample time to discuss it and make its ultimate decision. And then the other thing was just to remove the EAF language from the plan set, since, as Liz alluded to, it's a type 2 action, so seeker is not required. So the removal of the EAF from the plan set would be recommended. It's not required, but would easily kind of, I think, cut down on the sheet, but also just in case if there's any false information or just inaccurate information.
Right, we're
it's
not
being-
technically reviewing it, so.
Right, it's not memorializing that information.
Wait, say that again, what are you doing?
Oh.
So on the second sheet, the applicant provided a copy of the EAF. So the EAF is only required if you're a type 1 or unlisted action. For type 2 actions, EAFs are not required. And as Liz directed, that this is a type 2, EAF is not required. So just, it's the removal of it, just in the
It
event
also
that-
sends us looking for negative declarations and other documents that don't exist.
Right.
Okay.
So,
All
it
right, I
just,
didn't know what he meant by
Simplified.
memorializing.
yeah, well,
If there is any kind of information that's provided on that EAF that's provided on the plan set that may not be accurate,
Oh.
the board has not reviewed
Right.
that document.
But yet we're
it's-
signing the plans.
We're
Exactly.
not going
Yeah.
to, right?
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
So I did not get a new site plan from him. I don't know if he sent you one with the checklist.
I can only accept documents 3 weeks before the
Oh.
meeting, so
Okay.
I did not accept any submissions after that date.
I see. All I received was the checklist. So duly noted that we will tell him he can remove if he wants the EAF form.
I can make that, I have no objection to that being a condition of approval, because that's a minor technical change.
Okay.
Right, if it still exists, you mean?
If I recall
The side-
correctly about the sidewalk, the neighbor sidewalk ends here, and there's no sidewalk beyond here, so we thought it was not necessary to continue a sidewalk across, and there is a sidewalk across the street.
Yeah,
So
we
if
discussed
I-
that last month.
Right, so I think the determination was at that time that it was not necessary to do a sidewalk. Whether if you want to do it or not, that's up to you.
Right, I think the idea was that, oddly enough, this is the only portion of sidewalk on this entire side of the street.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, they elected to.
So if the
for
sidewalk
their-
goes to,
It's a sidewalk
Essentially
to the
nowhere.
west.
And it could be noted that it just happened like a month ago, like it
That they
really,
put
or
that
no, it was
in?
like, it was relatively new.
that sidewalk?
Maybe,
No,
maybe not
that's
live,
the
but
only
like,
section.
it was
I don't know.
Only that house has it.
only that
Only
house
this
has it,
has it on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
side.
The neighbors
on the
will
whole
fight.
side.
So, to conclude, you're saying we don't need to do a sidewalk.
I think that's for the board to
Yeah.
vote on.
But we felt last, yeah.
We didn't, I don't think we voted.
I think you tabled the
No.
discussion.
I think we've said a number of times that there's a sidewalk on the other side of the street. I did not go down and look myself, but I heard someone say that the condition of that sidewalk is not very good.
No, that's correct.
is not
It's not
good.
good. It's not good at all, but
I participated in the comprehensive master plan that was approved about 2 years ago. And I don't recall specific recommendations on sidewalks other than it's a priority village-wide. So the question in my mind is whether we would say, we're gonna require sidewalks and be consistent about that, and look at this not so much as a, hey, that there aren't any other sidewalks there, but that we are looking forward to other projects on neighboring properties and saying, we're gonna require sidewalks on those too, should the question come up.
So full disclosure, I have the house that has the not great sidewalk.
on the other side,
That's
No
that's
offense.
me. That's me. And I have tried many times to have someone come out, and no one does. So, I feel like I have to abstain from this conversation because I can't judge having not a good sidewalk myself.
Can you fix our sidewalk?
Yes, I was going to say if you do
Fix
go
her.
forward, I'll.
that sidewalk in front of your house doesn't.
It doesn't even go all the way to the end. So
No,
the
it's
Prime
just-
restaurant from my awful sidewalk to the corner, there is nothing. It's just grass. So I feel like I agree we should make it be a blanket statement, but no one is that's not a rule right now.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. And I'm not aware that the Board of Trustees has made any sort of significant policy statement
There, yeah.
to that effect?
I would
know
as-
that we are
assume
invested.
not, because this is a restaurant that is
Yeah.
hopping, and there's no sidewalk there, which
Yeah.
to me seems
Well, I know we
crazy.
have trustees,
Mm-hmm.
Trustee Foster, I know, is a huge proponent of getting public funding
Mm-hmm.
and working on sidewalks where we have public
Sure.
property.
Yep.
And we did the sidewalk grant, the school district and the village too,
Yeah.
a few years ago to get a lot of sidewalks done, just,
So it's a significant question,
Sure.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't feel like we're giving it justice if we don't, put it on the table and kick it around a little bit. Do we expect the trustees to come and have a policy that says, hey, we're going to require individual landowners, private landowners, to make an investment in the sidewalks as part of the.
So
as
what
part
I,
of the-
what I would say to that is you have to apply the code
The
and
code
the
as it
comprehensive plan
exists.
as it is written now.
Right.
So, in the absence of it, and there are some municipalities where if you have a site plan and on a
It's
public front,
required.
you have to install sidewalks. We do not,
We do
there
not.
is not a requirement, and this would be the only house, on that side of the street with,
Other than this
Yeah.
one.
right, the
on this,
second
on,
house, right,
The second one.
right.
Say
Second
back.
one.
no sidewalk there.
There
There's
isn't,
no sidewalk here?
no sidewalk there.
there isn't,
it got
That's what I
removed.
mean.
Not
Oh,
here.
it got removed.
it's grass and dirt, I mean, and from my property line to the corner,
There's nothing.
there's nothing, it's just
Right.
grass and rocks.
So you would
this
essentially
side.
have an
Oh, yeah,
island
this
of
side.
you would have an
That's right.
island of sidewalk.
Right now, it is odd
Yeah.
that there's an island of sidewalk, right now.
Yeah,
And I mean,
This is the property line too, so that sidewalk would be beyond.
They'll be on the
Right,
village
there's
property.
definitely
It'll
gonna be a
right
gap.
away,
It would be in the village
in
property.
the right of way, right?
So does that matter? Do you want someone building a sidewalk on
No.
the town, village property?
wait, which one's the problem? This one's the
Right here's the
problem?
property line.
Is that the-
Or is this?
So that's our
what is
setback is
this
from
one?
there.
or it's right away.
What's this?
That's
a
paved.
pole, that's a pole line.
Oh,
That's the
and this
pavement
is-
line.
That's the
That's
pavement
curb
line.
line?
So this is the gentleman's property line.
Yeah.
So you'd be putting a sidewalk
someone's-
not even on your property.
Correct.
Which is typical for a village setting. It's the same thing if you're constructing your entrance to your property, you're also constructing within the right of way, doing services. So typically it would be asked that aspect of the construction would be bonded, so in the event that they get halfway through and they don't complete it, the village has the monetary means to finish or complete it. But sometimes it's considered just part of a temporary easement or an agreement for allow the contractors to construct it as long as it's to the
Who's
village.
required to maintain it if it's not,
Once the sidewalk is constructed, the property owner is
even though
required,
it's not on their
under,
property?
under the village's code, the property owner in front of your property is required to maintain it. So if you fail to shovel it, if stuff lifts and you fail to set it, you can be cited for that. So it does not become village infrastructure, but again, it is a sidewalk to nowhere.
Yeah, I know,
and-
here, there's trees
And there's-
essentially right
there's
against the
bushes right there,
street, so you can't even, you'd walk into a tree.
But the salient point is that the code doesn't require it, so we can't require it.
You can't,
Well,
you can't require it, there are times where, as part of your findings of a site plan, because you have all the criteria that are in the site plan article, that, for the protection of pedestrians, whatever, that a sidewalk is
see.
warranted there.
Right.
So for example, the project, we just saw on Forester, sidewalks are entirely appropriate because they
Sure.
connect and it's pedestrian and all sorts of things. So you can
That clarifies our
make it a
position.
condition as part of your analysis of the factors of site plan. Do those exist here? It's not my call, but I would suggest no.
Thank you.
Alright, so do we all agree that we don't recommend or
So-
require a sidewalk?
So we can put that in our findings, that we type up.
Yeah.
Well,
Isn't
it's
it-
not
has-
proposed here, so do we have to add it at all?
No.
Don't you say?
No.
We don't have to say
But
anything about it, right?
I can include a discussion that the board discussed at length, the board understands the need and desire for sidewalks and discussed at length the pros and cons of a sidewalk and has determined that a sidewalk should not be required in this case-specific instance.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop you from putting one in if you want one.
If you want to, you
Or
should.
helping Vanessa identify people that can fix her.
Can I
We're not
Not
in
yet.
public hearing yet, so.
It may be an opportunity to communicate to the Board of Trustees that in order for us to move forward on sidewalk requirements, they need to do something
Sure,
with code.
okay.
I was on the sidewalk committee 20 years and it's ongoing. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
the same
Mhm.
conversation in a lot of ways.
Should we make a motion to conduct the public
Yep.
hearing?
Yes.
You wanna read the public hearing?
We have to make a motion
Make the motion.
to open the public hearing.
I make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please take notice that the Village Planning Board of the Village of Warwick will hold a public hearing at the Village of Warwick Village Hall, 77 Main Street, Warwick, New York, 10990, on September 10th, 2024, at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as possible on the site plan application of Layla and Peter. Okay, that's what I'm pronouncing wrong. To allow for the construction of a single-family home accessory garage at 9 Campbell Road, section lot 213-1-8. Copy of the application is available for review in the building planning department located at 77 Main Street, Warwick, New York, during regular business hours by the order of Planning Board of the Village of Warwick, Scalo Chairman, dated August 14th, 2024. So now the public hearing is officially open. If you do want to speak, just,
And
I
just
guess-
to confirm, we have mailings and publication.
all right, if you would stand and address the board and state your name.
Oh, Fran Sinclair, I'm a neighbor. I just wanted to say before sidewalks when
That's not good.
the Prime 36 used to have a sidewalk going down that side of the street, but it just hasn't been maintained and the grass has just grown over it. And that was the side people walked on. And the other side never had sidewalks anywhere.
Right.
That's all I was gonna say.
Yep.
And, same thing with the country club. In front of the country club, there used to be slate, and you could walk there.
Okay.
Over the years, again, that hasn't been maintained, and there's grass there. So, where the slates are broken up. So it's just a matter of maintenance, but we never had sidewalks on,
That side of the street.
on the other side of Campbell.
Right. Thank you. Anybody else?
Well, as far as the house goes, do we get to see plans of the house, like what you're gonna build?
Do you have your,
I have the rendering.
Took a picture of it.
Actual construction plans for the footprint, and this is our rendering of this
Let's
year's.
see it. It's off our website.
Includes the garage.
Oh, no.
We're just gonna redo the garage, we're gonna make it narrower and get rid of that barn roof, and then that's gonna be basically the house. We're redoing the garage, shrinking it, and just making it look like a house, not a barn.
And they're gonna have the sidewalk.
Well, that's rendering, but we're just, no.
Wait, what did
But
she
I
say?
did stand out in front when they were redoing it, and I didn't let them put another, I made them make a straight line
Right,
and not go more up on that property again, because I kept adding the cannon.
right.
So you can see the line.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great there now with the new pavement.
If somebody stood out there and watched them,
Thank you for
it's
doing
beautiful.
that. So here's some renderings of what it's gonna look like. And that's the
Beautiful.
garage beyond that we're gonna basically gut and reduce in size and make it look normal in terms of a two-car garage rather than looking like a barn.
Could you talk more about the garage?
The existing garage that's there, which has kind of been the objection for everyone for this project since we were trying to get it approved, is it was built illegally. It's too big, it violates the setbacks on both the rear and the side. And it has an unusual architectural style of a barn with a gambrel roof versus kind of like a little two-car garage. And the other people were trying to turn that into a home. So they had a double whammy against them, and they built without a permit, and they just built it, so our client bought it with all this bad karma. And we get it. So they don't want to turn it into a home. They want to put it out front in line with all the other homes with similar style architecture and vernacular style house, farmhouse style. So this, we decided to just, and we went over this round and round, to just shrink it, conform to the code, 10 feet on both sides. It's sort of a gambrel roof, it's kind of a low pitch roof, and it's got these slope sides. We're just gonna take those sides off and just straighten it out like a normal looking garage, and just put materials that would match the main house with color similar to this. And that's, the color is something else we can talk about. But it'll just look like a regular two-car garage like any other house or garage there. And it won't violate the setbacks.
Was there electricity in the building?
I'm sorry.
Was there electricity?
There was.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
It's been and we're not talking about the design, you're talking about
Right.
the
No,
site plan.
so we don't talk about
Okay.
design.
I know.
It's
we're
nice
just-
to have this,
We're
but-
just trying to let everybody know that everyone wants to do the right thing.
But, I mean, it's terminated, but you're gonna add electricity.
Oh, yeah, we got
Yes.
electricity, lights, yeah. We wanna make a game room upstairs possibly.
So
Golf
plumbing,
simulator.
We haven't talked about plumbing, but we would never, ever use it as any kind of living space or apartments or anything.
And that's a
like that.
condition.
That's
So
a
that,
condition.
that was a condition of the
Yeah,
ZBA
yeah,
approval. They've
condition
also
on
put
this.
a note on the plan that states that the garage to be used.
is it on the?
Right, it was for residents, like
Yeah,
vehicles, not, I
it's
saw
actually
that
not-
there was a
Yeah,
whole,
it's an accessory garage note. The garage shall only be used as an accessory garage to a single-family dwelling and shall not be used for residential or business purposes.
right,
Which is the language that came right out of the ZBA
Okay.
decision.
Alright,
Additionally, the ZBA decision is also added on the plan, so
So the,
it's kind of double.
yeah.
yeah,
It's a
it's
redundant
great.
condition. I guess before we move any further, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on 9 Campbell.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next time.
oh, I to close the public
Public
hearing,
hearing,
okay, yeah.
All right, so that's closed. Were there any other comments, concerns?
Do we
discussion?
need to abstain from voting on this plan since we live on the street?
So the question for you is, obviously, if you live on the street, you disclose that to the applicant, which you have done. If you feel that you can act on the application in a unbiased manner, you can vote. Obviously, if you're angry or rah-rah, to the extreme of
Sure.
one way or the other, then I would certainly recommend you
Okay.
abstain.
I do have an additional, I do live on Campbell. Hi neighbor. And, but I did attend the public hearing and I voiced a dissatisfaction. So should I abstain?
You should abstain then.
Okay.
I spoke, but I didn't have a feeling either way, it was just a question.
So
So
again,
there-
if you're concerned at all, you should abstain
Okay.
from the vote.
Okay.
We still do have a quorum to
We
take
do have
act-
3.
Sure.
We do have 3, it just, all 3 need to vote in favor. So, this is a type 2, so we have no seeker action. If the board is willing to entertain a motion to approve, the, site plan, again, the conditions, are gonna be compliance with Keith's memo. Just bear with me, I can't write that fast. And he would give you a letter once those conditions, once his memo was satisfied that he was happy, right? ZBA variance, customary conditions, permit fees, all legal, all that stuff is paid. And I'm assuming, we're gonna adopt the plans in their current form without a sidewalk, and I can include a discussion that we discussed the sidewalk issue at length.
This has some handwritten notes on it. Well, looking at the final here,
Well, so
or there's gonna be.
Keith, there's going to be a revised,
Right, 'cause we
Keith's
want-
issued a
Yeah.
memo
That's off
with
the second page,
a
right,
couple
to
of,
the-
a couple of cleanup comments that are really, don't affect the site plan, but are just technical comments. So the applicant will go back, have the plans updated, submit those to Keith as well as to me. Keith and I will give you a letter, yes, they've addressed everything to our satisfaction. Chairman, you may sign the plan. So I don't see anything in here that would require them to go make those changes now. I believe that would only delay the project unnecessarily another month. some boards, it has to be perfect, and I don't think that's realistic or practical.
Agree.
So
We need a motion.
I move that we give final approval to the 9 Campbell Road application, subject to the conditions just discussed by the
Liz.
by attorney.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And let the record reflect we have 2 abstentions.
2 abstentions.
That's it.
2 abstentions by Carrie Boland and Vanessa Holland.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good luck is right.
Thank you.
I'll try to get those out as quickly as, I'll try to get that resolution out as quickly as I can.
And Feed and Grain too, you're gonna follow up with a letter,
I will,
so I know it's
Thursday?
approved. Whenever. That's not okay.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
tomorrow's a busy day.
All right, next one, guys. We got
Final
this.
on
We
the
got this.
agenda is M&L Equity Auto. Application for lot line change. Public hearing remains open. So, Liz, I think we'll need you to maybe give
Sure.
a rundown of what transpired since.
So at our last meeting, there was a discussion about what your code required in terms, it was a site plan required. I did some review of the files, both the historical files, and I provided a letter. Subdivision, which this is considered subdivision, does trigger site plan review. But even if it did not, I'm of the opinion that site plan is required. The original site plan that we could find on file was actually for a smaller piece of land. The applicant's predecessor bought a piece of property which was then merged. So they simply merged it, so there was no application before the planning board. That's perfectly permissible. You can buy an adjoining property and merge 2 tax lots. But the site plan was never updated to reflect that, and is back from the 90s. And I did provide the applicant with a copy of that map.
Alright, so then now that we have a public hearing held open from the last meeting to this meeting, which was specific to the lot line change, what are our options going forward?
You have 2 options. You can renotice it as a lot line improvement and site plan. It would be an amendment. There is an existing site plan of record. You could find that the changes don't warrant a public hearing. You could also note that we're already in a public hearing, so yes, it's a lot line improvement. Do we want to hold it open to allow it to allow the site plan to be submitted? Really, the plans show most of the elements of a site plan. It's labeling and the application materials, so I don't know how much, and I'll defer to Keith on that, how much the document itself, the plan set, is going to change to reflect that. But we do have those findings that we are required to make as part of the site plan review.
I don't think my comments were of substantial nature that would warrant having to renotice and to renotice the public hearing as a site plan. I think there's significant detail on the plans, and that the comments that I provided are more of just cleaning up the plan set, not necessarily dictating any major changes. A lot of the floodplain development, or limits of the floodplain, are on the subdivision plan as provided by Schmick Surveying, whereas it's not on the engineering drawing. But that's an easy change that can be added to it. So it's not a complete omission, it's just a cleanup. The only significant change would be the screening from the adjoining property owners. But again, that could be a condition of the final. I don't think it's significant enough unless the board is looking to review the visual aspect of it prior to making a motion.
So just so I'm clear, I've brought up a couple times the risk of having a de facto site plan approval. So this is, you're saying
We would update the paperwork
we
to
actually make that
reflect,
explicit.
we would update the paperwork that it would be both, it would be a combined application, which you can do, you can combine your reviews
Yeah.
for, site plan and,
Lot line change.
lot line change, so they would effectively be governed by the same documents. That would have to be, the application materials would have to be updated, but that's a relatively straightforward thing to do. And
So that's beneficial for you because you come out of this with a current approved site plan.
Yeah. Versus something from.
From the
Right,
90s,
and,
that
not
was.
and quite
up to
honestly,
date.
the plan we found wasn't even signed, I think that's the plan. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt that that is the plan that was approved. I can find we found the resolution.
Yeah.
Kristen showed me the closet in the depths of, or in the, way up in the attic of all the minutes, so, just be aware of that. The one issue that did come to my attention during my review is that, as part of the approval of that last, in the 90s, there was a grant of a, extended sewer, from a title perspective. The applicant's predecessor granted the village that easement, but it wasn't recorded until after he conveyed the property, so somebody who didn't own the property conveyed it. Is it there? Yes. Have we all been operating? I would just like a confirmatory easement recorded to reflect that from the applicant. So it's just a out of order recording.
And also on that subject, I guess there was a June 2019 order to remedy
That would be resolved
with the site plan.
with this process. I think you were planning on working on the other 2 lots, and then you stepped back, and then we had COVID, and then but that order to remedy, but right now it is open.
Still open.
So, once we approve that site plan, that would,
Right, there's
or
changes
that
would
would
be-
pull that order to remedy back, yeah.
Right.
And we're still working on the assumption that the village board approves the
Correct.
Change.
the zoning map change that we're talking about.
Correct.
And that gives us a new boundary between light industrial and residential with a new property owner.
Right.
And we're still open question on what type of screening we're
So-
gonna be looking at.
We talked about, the question is, the screening, the applicant had proposed continuation of the fence along the one line. Do you wrap the corner, because then you go into the floodplain, do you want a fence that alters water flow, or do you want a natural barrier, trees, shrubs, something along those lines that water can go through? So that's a Keith question.
And also, just before, we didn't receive any comments from the public.
No, you received no comments from the public.
Nope.
What do you want to do? What are you doing about the public hearing?
We should
Close
close
the
them.
public
Well, we have to
hearing again.
keep it open,
We have to keep it
correct,
open again?
until we resolve the site plan components. Unless we're deeming that everything is here and we approve it, correct?
That's more of a Liz question. I have no objections. I don't think.
Right, you don't have any substantial changes.
So see effectively what they've done, because this is, Bob, I'm assuming this is a new print, it's subdivision and site plan.
Right.
So if I could jump in, we
Yeah.
certainly didn't have time to submit this 3 weeks before the meeting, but if I could have a few minutes to show you the direction we're headed. This is the most recent map that our engineer prepared. We've retitled it both subdivision and site plan. We've identified the vacuum center, which was the issue of the notice to remedy.
Yep.
Up here, we call it the existing vacuum center. All the buildings have been identified. As far as screening, our engineer has proposed arborvitaes. Ms. Mann, who's here tonight, wanted a fence, so we're proposing a continuation of the fence. And so the only thing that I believe is still missing is locating the floodplain. That's not here yet.
That was on the survey, which is, it's a 3-sheet set, so there's 2 plans of that were prepared by Bob Schmick, and then there's the 3rd sheet, which is what he's showing you here as far as from Friedler Engineering, which has the detailed engineering design information. So it's really just that, adding that aspect, but again, because one sheet of the set provided that information, I would say it's more of a cleanup issue than an actual actionable item. And it's not to say that, I mean, the majority of the property is in, or the whole property is in the floodplain. The majority of the property is in the floodway. So it's not that we're, the applicant's trying to hide anything. They're fully aware of the constraints, and that the proposed improvements of the landscaping and the fencing wouldn't necessarily impact the floodway due to the landscaping. I mean, the fence is the fence, but it's a small portion. It actually may prevent damage from the adjoining property owner, as it would prevent floodwaters and debris from intruding into their backyard. And the landscaping will allow stuff to continue to pass through.
So we show both the proposed plantings and there's a planting detail up here in the left-hand corner.
And that's new, this is the last discussion
Yes.
a month ago, right? Yeah.
Arborvitae, is that what it is, or whatever? I don't want to, I'm not an arborist, so whatever works.
Yeah, typically we request arborvitae just because they're a fast-growing,
Sure.
smaller
Right.
shrub.
Durable, usually.
Yeah, and they're very robust.
And you can see they've staggered them, so they create more of a,
Buffer,
yeah, they
Barrier.
do, because they
Yeah, so you
see
have
that
right. You have the alternating double row, so
it
that
fills in the gap.
right. So if you are visually looking through, you have the illusion that is one continuous wall, allowing it to take root and actually then grow and fill in.
and won't inhibit water flow at all.
It could, but it's
Very
going to
small.
inhibit less than what a fence would.
I think, sure. Okay.
Now, as far as application materials, we've identified this as a site plan as well as a subdivision map. The subdivision application doesn't really give me an opportunity to also request site plan approval, so I don't know what you want me to do in the way of updating the application itself.
I would just then submit, just so we have, let me just,
I could certainly include in the cover letter, encloses our revised subdivision map, which now also is identified as a site plan for the board's consideration or something like that.
What I would like, Bob, and I'm sorry to be a pain in the tush, is to just have you complete the application, so we have it of record, so everybody's clear, so that when somebody 20 years from now is looking at this, that you have it. It's 3 pages. It shouldn't take too terribly much. And that way we have it.
Okay, so you want separate application for site plan
Just
approval?
so that we have the record. That was part of my issue going back, because we didn't have some of those documents. And I don't
Accept
want
application for site plan?
so they would have the subdivision application.
Application,
Your board has 2 separate forms.
Yeah, I understand.
The EAF is fine for both, that's not a big deal. But I just want to have the paper trail.
Some applications.
The only other thing that I would raise is the question about the buildings labeled vehicle service, and I don't know that we have a precise definition of what the special use requirement is
So-
in terms of,
So there were findings by the building inspector on some of the uses that found, so there was a so whenever there's a question is that permitted under the code?
yeah.
The arbiter of the code is the building inspector. He makes the first determination, yes. So for example, there were some determinations that I think one bay of this building was converted to a lube bay, that was okay. Tire sales, the tires, that was okay. The only thing that I didn't find a determination on, which, well, I did find, was the order to was that there was nothing on the vacuums. So everything else, and lots of things, for example, that had a permit. You know, there were building permits, and I'm treating those building permits in my mind as a determination that they complied with zoning. This piece here, I'm sorry, not that one, this is the detail garage. This used to be a barn or a garage or something. If you look at the tax map, there's a dotted line here. That was the piece that was not on the original site plan. So this is what was merged, yes. And it took me a minute to figure that out, but once I did.
So that's good. The only question I had was whether you'd benefit from an explicit special use approval, if that's necessary. But if the building inspector
Because no construction is proposed, and because there are essentially, this is a cleanup, and I think because those determinations have passed, have been made and not challenged, I think at this point, if new construction comes in, you'll ask the building inspector for a determination moving forward. Does that comply with site plan? Is that within the existing use? And if it's a change in use, he'll have to issue a determination whether that change of use requires further approvals.
that makes sense.
So there'll be two plans, there'll be a site plan and a
It
subdivision?
can be shown on one map. I had no
be shown on one
objection to
map.
it being shown on one map.
Okay. This is subdivision site plan, where's it? It says site plan. Okay.
There's gonna be the lot line improvement that's gonna get recorded with the county clerk.
Yeah, so the plan set's actually 3 sheets. The first being the subdivision plan as prepared by the surveyor. The second sheet also prepared by the surveyor, has the ZBA variance determination provided. And this was the third sheet of the set.
Oh, okay, that's what this is.
So
Yeah.
for the filing requirements, the first sheet would be the only one that would be required to be filed with the county, whereas the second and third sheet would be on file with the village clerk.
So it sounded like you guys are saying that we could move on this tonight, but we would first have to finish the public hearing on the subdivision, find that we don't need a public hearing on the site plan,
Right.
and then we could move on this.
Yes, and let me just double check my comment memo.
And we still haven't actually opened the public hearing, or
We never closed it.
We never
Right.
closed
We
it,
never
it's
closed
still
the
open,
public
it's a
hearing.
continuation.
We continued it to this meeting. We haven't closed it yet.
but there may be somebody who wants to comment.
Yeah, I haven't closed it yet.
But it is an unlisted action, so you would have to make a secret determination.
Yes, it would be on this, right?
But we don't need to, it's not like we'd need to, if this was subject to 239, we might have to resend it. They'd roll their eyes at it, but technically you'd have to resend it.
So it is a 239?
No, it's not a 239. So there's nothing delaying
Okay.
that. And the ZBA acted independently because they,
So we've got a number of things to tick off. What's the order?
so the first order is to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Anybody go?
Should we just make sure nobody else wants to speak?
Oh, yes.
Would you like to speak at all?
Oh, no.
No? All right. You're the only one out there.
So then,
right.
since there's no further public,
And
want
we've
to speak
received
on
no-
the issue, I move we close the public hearing.
I've received no written comment.
So Bill makes the motion.
Mm-hmm. Close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Who
seconded?
Scott.
Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Public hearing is closed.
Okay. And I now need a, and I'll type this up more articulately in my, that the project presents no adverse environmental impacts, a negative declaration.
It's unlisted, so.
It's
we're
unlisted, so you do
thinking,
you need to make a,
negative declaration or a positive declaration, and there's no detrimental environmental impact, so I think we should have it.
doesn't raise any new
Yeah.
impacts.
So, I suggest a negative declaration under seeker.
So that's a motion.
That's
Is there a
motion.
motion? Yeah,
Is there a
so,
second?
all right, I'll second that motion. Scott's giving me.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next part, you're gonna bear with me because I'm writing as fast as I can. Conditions, subject to board approval, village board approval of the zoning chain. Subject to ZBA determination.
By the way, for the record, I did contact the chairman of the ZBA to see whether or not we needed an extension of time. And since no building permit will be issued, they said, no, we do not need an extension.
That makes sense. Subject to the confirmatory easement of the sewer.
Where is that sewer? Should it be shown on the map as well?
Do you know where it is? I'm trying to get a legal description of it.
I know,
I can get
all
the
I know,
library
there's a
page.
manhole
I
on
have
one of these
that.
guys' properties over here.
It
but
goes back so far in time, it's
Yeah.
not available online, so I gotta go to the county building and pull it.
Like sometimes the village has a problem on Orchard Street. I know that in one of the neighbors' yard, there's a manhole back there.
I may have.
But you can add as a condition, if we can get
Show.
a legal description, we'll show it. That's not a problem.
Show sewer easement.
It's going that way to the pump house, right?
You might also, since Kristen has the file sitting on her desk, it might be shown on that plan as well.
Provided we get it.
We don't have to get it right now. Show sewer easement. I'm gonna make Keith Woodruff's outstanding comments. And I'll reference that.
And then I would just request that the board review this plan as it shows the proposed landscaping and the fence, as the previous plans did not show that. So if they have comment or requests for revisions to,
I always like to add landscaping to be maintained in perpetuity. That's always,
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
customary payment of all fees, et cetera. Bob, you're gonna submit that, the site plan,
Yes.
submission of site plan application. And then, the one thing I noted too is there is a small pre-existing encroachment. Our site plan is not authorizing that encroachment, we're just, it's
Oh,
just
the
shown
fence,
for
you're
an
showing.
existing condition, okay?
Shoot.
Similar to the language that was in the 13 Forester, that we're not approving any off-site conditions represented on the site plan.
The new portion of the fence will be on your.
It'll be on-
property.
Along Ms. Mann's property line.
Okay, so you're gonna be installing it on her
It'll,
property.
it'll be on our side of the line.
Yeah, on your side of the line.
So it'll be offset from the fence that
We'll
exists there
have to figure
currently.
that out.
Sort of
I mean,
fence.
if it's,
6 feet, 6 inches in. Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that we're not
already
approving
bad.
a fence to be put on someone else's property.
Well, she's an applicant, so
Oh,
I
so it
don't,
can-
I
I,
forgot about that.
Got it.
So it doesn't
we
really
can
matter.
approve her fence, so after this line, we can approve whatever we want, because she's on,
Okay,
Oh,
that works
okay.
out.
she's
That's fine.
signed on to the
Okay.
application.
So then you can put it
yeah.
Yeah.
in line with what
It's-
exists there.
It's this from here
from
to
here to
there,
this.
they're not parties to the application.
Okay. Otherwise, it'd be weird to have it offset. Is that guide rail, or that's on? I guess not on.
There is a guardrail right
Yeah,
now,
that would
wooden.
come out.
Okay.
Okay. Any other conditions?
Unless the board, I mean, if they've sufficiently reviewed the landscaping and fencing and find it sufficient, then,
How many months have we talked about it?
well, now you see it on the plan set, so now you can, review it, make sure that 5-foot vinyl fence of tan color is sufficient.
Tan color?
That's what it says on the detail.
Is it? Yep. Fine.
The fence coming up to that point along the other properties is brown.
Yeah,
Wood,
it's
like if
tan
we do.
wood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The idea is to have it similar.
eventually to have it similar, yes.
And I will include a discussion in the finding section of the resolution that we discussed at length various forms of screening, and in light of that we discussed similar to the sidewalk. We had lengthy discussions, and the board found that landscaping versus a fence was better in the floodplain for flood mitigation.
Correct.
In appearance, given that that's boundary between light industrial and residential now.
Yep.
New.
Yeah.
Better for floods. And appearance.
Because the only comment I would make on the fence, code is 6 feet. Is there a requirement to have a 6-foot high fence and not a 5-foot high fence?
6 feet is the maximum in the rear yard.
But you
6 is
can-
maximum. You
we
can
can
have less, right?
approve a lower fence. Okay. I just don't remember for the screening purposes if it was specific to 6
What is
feet.
the existing fence right now?
There's there's nothing here.
Right, but the one
The one
that
that's
is,
right.
6 feet, 6.
so it wouldn't make sense to continue at 6 feet?
Continue, yeah.
So we'll just update that to 6 feet from 5 feet.
Good observation.
Fence, 6 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else? Existing.
Do you want me to submit copies of this particular site plan, or do you want me to wait until we update it with a little more information?
I would update it and then save your,
I'll save it. How about you, do you want me?
Wait for the final.
okay, so just to review those conditions, subject to zone change, subject to ZBA determination, subject to confirmatory easement, and then showing the sewer easement. Location. Subject to satisfaction of Keith Woodruff's outstanding comments, he'll issue a letter when they are for the chair to sign. Landscaping to be maintained in perpetuity. Submission of site plan application. Not approving any off-site conditions, encroaching fence. Fence to be 6 feet, consistent with existing. We're going to include a finding regarding the fence that it's better for floodplains and the appearance of the buffer between the light industrial and residential zones. Anything else? Keith?
Nope, I'm good.
I got a lot of typing this week.
So I'll make the motion that we grant approval to the site plan and subdivision as proposed with the conditions as noted. Period.
So this is final
Anything else
subdivision
on that,
approval,
right?
correct?
So to be clear,
This is
subdivision
and site plan.
approval, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
oh,
Aye.
time out.
Back up. Rewind.
We're gonna reverse that order. Can I have a motion that no public hearing is needed on the site plan?
We forgot one.
Sorry.
You want to make that
Yeah.
motion?
Make the motion that no public hearing is required for the site plan updates on this project.
Okay,
Is there
so
a second?
I'll second it.
All
Karen,
in favor?
Aye.
Now, Scott.
no site plan public hearing. Okay. And then who's made the second on the approval?
I think I did.
Okay,
Who did the
Which
first?
one is?
Scott.
I moved.
Oh.
Yeah, it was
That
Bill.
was Bill.
Subdivision and site plan approval, Scott Brown,
Yep.
second, Bill Olson.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great,
Yep.
motion, no public hearing for site plan and subdivision approval, Carrie Boland and Vanessa Holland.
Yep.
Okay,
And before you vote, I'm gonna include in their language that it doesn't, the timeframes don't start until the village board issues their determination for expiration, because they can't do anything until the board takes action.
Makes sense.
So that'll be the trigger to start the timeframe.
That's a
Okay.
good detail.
Okay, now you can vote.
You're
Vote on-
voting to approve the resolution.
The approval.
Okay.
My
The whole big
my
resolution,
motion to-
okay.
My motion to approve.
Okay.
Perfect.
Approve resolution.
Do we have to do that single-handedly, or is it,
Same as before.
That's,
so all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Who seconded the
Bill.
approval?
That was Bill.
Wilson? And then who's adjourning?
Oh. I have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yes!
Motion to adjourn, okay. Second. Okay.
All in favor?
Who made the first to adjourn?
Oh, Bill.
Nice.
Who seconded?
Kristen did, didn't you? You made the motion, didn't you make the
Yes,
motion?
she kinda did.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna get out of here, I wanna see what's happening in the world.
Oh my gosh, we have a debate to watch, guys.
No.
Let's
I'm
go.
gonna go see what's happening in the world.
I thought like.
No?
Like.
I didn't know it was on.
Olivia is.
It's like a.
My daughter is
somewhere else.
in college.